It was the day of the Irish presidential election. It was also my first day out of my pajamas, 10 days after our baby girl was born. She was sleeping as I placed her in her soft velvet jumpsuit, and I tucked her in securely to her car seat. The telephone rang. The voice on the line will stay with me for the rest of my life. This is Leona calling from the maternity ward. I want you to know that your child is healthy, but we think she may have this condition called PKU. You must make your way to Temple Street Children's Hospital. There will be somebody waiting for you at haematology, and from there you will be taken to St. Michael's ward. I was so confused. I looked at my beautiful and precious child. She looked great. Her dark hair, clear sallow skin, curvaceous rosebud lips, sleeping and feeding exceptionally well for a breastfed newborn. I repeated the instruction in my head again and again to try and make sense of it all as we made that 3-hour journey. I called my friend who was a nurse en route. The first question, of course, was obvious. What is PKU? PKU stands for Phenylketonuria. It is a rare condition diagnosed at birth through newborn screening, also known as the heel prick test. It affects a person's ability to break down protein. If protein builds up in the bloodstream, it can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause severe physical and intellectual disability. It is rare, however, 3 in every 100 Irish people are carriers for PKU. 2 carriers have a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with the condition. Screened for in Ireland since 1966, yet nobody knows anything about it. Currently, there is no cure. The treatment my friend explained on that difficult journey is a low-protein diet for life. I was so surprised that a diet of any kind could be so transformative, and I remember not feeling comfortable having to rely upon it. I started to grieve for the child I never actually had, that child without PKU. I felt helpless, dependent, and very lost. It was a traumatic life event. Similar to the diagnosis of other rare conditions, there was no psychological support for our family. It was emphasized from very early on how lucky we were to have a diagnosis, but the family's well-being often gets overlooked. Online information was confusing and at times contradictory, and it took years of conversations for me to fully understand why. It was emphasized from very early on how lucky we were to have that diagnosis. But those living with it provided the greatest clarity. The low-protein diet for life was a revelation for our community. It was pioneered by medical doctors, but it was first trialled by an Irish mother in Birmingham exactly 60 years prior to our family's introduction to PKU. Her name was Mary Rooney Jones of Pullboy Manor Hamilton in County Leitrim. And her home place, believe it or not, was on the very road where our family lived and received that first phone call. It was through Mary's perseverance for a treatment for her daughter Sheila that led medical doctors to develop the low-protein diet. And for this, I am eternally grateful. She was, in fact, one of our greatest advocates, but medical science and history does not really acknowledge families' role in advocacy and in the development of new treatments. So to Mary and to her daughter Sheila, we say thank you. So what does it look like in terms of daily food intake? There are, in fact, 3 components to low-protein dietary therapy. 1, a synthetic protein mixture. 2, protein-free foods, which are predominantly root vegetables, most fruits, and medical foods. And 3, a daily protein allowance of as little as 3 grams of protein per day, spread throughout the day, and this is based on weekly, fortnightly, or monthly blood levels. So despite being a very effective treatment, there are a lot of side effects with low-protein dietary therapy. These include, as research reports, gastrointestinal issues, lack of that feeling of fullness, social exclusion, anxiety and mental health, and neurocognitive deficits, particularly for those who find management of the diet difficult, affecting their ability to plan and to organize, which are the very skills that are needed to adhere to such a strict diet. And for many, this is the only treatment available to manage their brain health. I love to listen to adults with PKU speak about their experience. They have lived with it their entire lives. They eagerly reassure us parents. Some, however, speak about suppressed feelings of guilt and shame, having broken diet, or buried frustrations watching others around them enjoy their food. Likewise, some families report feeling guilty enjoying their food experiences in front of their loved ones. After all, how many social occasions involve food? And how are those social occasions managed by those living with PKU? To allow our daughter the simple pleasure of a shared meal out with family and friends, we ask restaurants for detailed menu ingredients. We ask them to cook medical pasta the same time as other meals. Or we ask them to reheat a homemade meal. We carry a picnic basket full of food on our days out, and we never leave home without a weighing scales to measure protein content. It's not as simple as ordering off the menu. We always have to be prepared. You see, PKU is a lifelong condition. Children grow up with and not out of a rare disease. Those crucial Monday morning blood levels that progressed from our daughter's newborn heel to her toddler big toe to her little fingers over the last 10 years leads to a text message on either a Wednesday or a Thursday, and this determines her dietary management for the following week. Not ideal, considering they're already 3-4 days old. What our community wouldn't give for a handheld monitoring device for a faster blood result. Controlling the controllables, such as blood levels, and being grateful are coping mechanisms that are often suggested to us families. I ask myself the question, does gratitude limit progress? Why am I looking for something more? After all, I had been reminded to be grateful, and how different our family's story could have been. Since 1966 in Ireland, we've had one treatment for PKU, and that is dietary therapy. Think about you and your loved ones, conditions that you may be living with. How many treatment options are available to you? Not all treatments suit all people living with the same condition, right? PKU is no different. So coping with a traumatic life event is about perspective. I, as a mother and a scientist, felt that the best, the most effective, and the most productive coping mechanism for me was through advocacy. But to be an effective patient advocate, I needed to understand the condition and its effects in its entirety. From diagnosis to treatments, from research to policy, to everyday understanding, knowledge, and experience of the PKU community. Through advocacy, I have learned that it comes with great responsibility, reflection on one's motivation, self-care, knowing when it is time to step back and to let others take the lead. So what's my message? I'm eternally grateful to those trailblazers who had the vision, the drive, the ambition, and the compassion to put Ireland at the global forefront of newborn screening and dietary intervention back in the 1960s. This progress, however, has not been continued. PKU is a little understood birth-to-grave condition entailing a highly unusual, yet critical, permanent food lifestyle. Indeed, even dietary therapy is not yet perfected, even though it is a 24/7 lifestyle consideration. It is a constant struggle and battle for some. Our main tool is information. So today, I'm proud to know that I'm sharing this story with you to broaden understanding and compassion around PKU and how it affects lives. My message is also one of hope. Advocacy provides hope. Hope is more powerful than you can ever understand. It transforms people. It makes you resilient, gives strength, and restores faith. Faith in our health, our education, and our political systems. Advocates come in many forms. Patients educating their GP, perhaps a stay-at-home parent completing a questionnaire, or those of you listening today, simply listening, being empathetic, trying to understand. You too can raise awareness, create real change, and empower the lives of people living with PKU and other rare conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you now to get a flavor of low-protein dietary therapy. You will each find a small container in your bags. Please do not feel obligated. You may choose to do so if you wish. So you can unscrew the top just to get a full flavor on your palate. You may quickly notice that it's not very palatable. Please bear in mind that children and adults with PKU take anything from 3 and even up to 8 servings in a day to keep their blood levels balanced. So now we have gone from a 10-day-old baby to a 10-year-old girl. And yes, our family story could have been so different. I would love nothing more than to console that new mother and to tell her that despite the challenges, her daughter is well. And she continues to inspire her each and every day with her willingness to embrace life and to live her life to the absolute fullest. Her mother continues to be grateful, to control the controllables, and remains hopeful for improvements in PKU care. Thank you.